You know that girl that walks into class super, super late and it gets really awkward? I'm that girl. I want to talk to y'all about some 2025 releases that I absolutely loved. It's super late, but don't jump me. I really wanted to get this out there to y'all. So here are 9 2025 releases that I absolutely loved. The first book I want to mention is Flesh by David Saleh. Now this one is a 2025 Booker Prize winner. I was debating whether to add this book to the list because there were some things that I didn't like about it, but there were also some things that I did like about this book. One thing I didn't like about this book was the huge time skips. I felt like it interrupted the character development. But I did love that it brought up a lot of things that we needed to talk about as a society, such as toxic masculinity and how men deal with trauma. And y'all already know I love my drama, and this book had plenty of that. The next book I want to name is Can't Get Enough by Kennedy Ryan. This book follows Hendrix, who is a 40-year-old childless woman who does not want kids, as she navigates being a caretaker to her mother, who is suffering from Alzheimer's. Kennedy Ryan does such a good job of building up the romance, building up the chemistry between the characters, and also talking about social justice issues that we need to talk about as a society as well. The next book I want to name is Plus Size Player by Danielle Allen. This book follows Nina, who is a plus-size model and social content creator, and she really delves deep into the microaggressions that she faces as a plus-size model. And I love the romance and the chemistry between her and Russell, who's the CEO of the company she works for, which is crazy. The next 2025 release that I really loved is Along Came Amor by Alexis Daria. I loved the Spanish in this novel, the way how it was used. I loved the spicy romance. Y'all know I'm all for spicy romance. And I love that she wrapped up the Primas of Power series very well with a nice bow. Now, just a warning, Along Came Amor is a bit of a hefty book, but that's because it's the third installment of the Primas of Power series. But it's amazing. The spice is great. Y'all know I love some spice. And Bronx representation, y'all. The next book that I really love that came out in 2025 is It's Different This Time by Joss Richard. Now, 2 things about this book. One, I didn't feel like the character of Adam was fleshed out enough. I don't know too much about that character. We don't know too much about that character, so the romance kind of feels like it came out of nowhere a little bit. Just a little bit, not too much. You see the chemistry evolve, but if Adam was fleshed out more, you'd see it much better. And on top of that, I didn't feel like there was a lot of Filipino representation in this book, which I was hoping for. But it's still a nice, cozy fall read, so I would still highly recommend it. The next book I want to mention is Dirty Kitchen by Jill Damatak. Now, I did a whole video on this, so I'm not going to go deep into this, but this is a fantastic memoir by Jill Damatak that has a lot of Filipino representation. It talks about her experience as an undocumented Filipino woman, and it's crazy. The next 2025 release that I want to mention is The Guardian and the Thief by Mega Majumdar. This book is about a family who is about to travel and live in America in a couple of days, but on the last second, they get their passport stolen by a thief. But this book has you wondering, who's really the guardian and who's really the thief? Fantastic writing, fantastic drama, and that ending was super, super crazy, so highly recommend. My next book is The Emperor of Gladness by Ocean Vuong. The storytelling and the prose is just so masterful and literary and artistic that I couldn't even believe it. And I would highly recommend watching the interview that he does with Oprah in Oprah's book club. Now, this last book ended up being my favorite 2025 release. It's The River is Waiting by Wally Lamb. I don't know what it is about Wally Lamb always making me cry, but he does such a good job of making me cry. This book follows a man who struggles with alcohol addiction after he gets laid off of his job. And he accidentally kills his kid, which is really sad. So the rest of the time, you follow him in prison. And you're kind of left rooting for him, but you're kind of left upset with him. And he struggles with his guilt, he struggles with regret. And towards the end, just, oh my god. I loved the build-up. I loved the writing. I loved that I hated the character, but also rooted for him at the same time. Wally Lamb just does such a good job of building up the characters. It's crazy. Alright, y'all, those were 9 2025 releases that I really loved. If you end up reading them, please let me know how you feel about them. Thanks, y'all.